Where will you be working tomorrow? Do you like working inside or outside? Or maybe the best of both worlds? How about a job with plenty of travel and a job that lets you make your mark? How about a job where the qualifications you gain are recognized all over the world? A job that lets you earn while you learn, or enter as a university graduate. Map out your own destiny and become a surveyor. 150 years ago, many of the first Europeans to see large parts of New Zealand were surveyors. It was their job to map out the land, and many of the geographical features are named after them. Intrepid adventurers like Haast, Brunner and Heaphy. Right here in 1841 on the top of Mount Eden in Auckland, early surveyors made one of their very first marks. Now this trig station behind me marks the corner of land that runs from here to Cox's Bay, all the way over to Hobson Bay and back again. The 3,000 acres enclosed by the triangle were then auctioned off to early settlers and became downtown Auckland, our biggest and at the time our capital city. In the years that followed, surveyors journeyed throughout the whole of New Zealand. Their surveying imposed some order on the previous dodgy land sales and resolved some boundary disputes, allowing the young colony to progress. Nowadays, the role of a surveyor has diversified, but the role of a surveyor is still as important as ever. Mark Williams has been a registered surveyor for over 28 years. He has arranged to introduce Vicky to the profession, which she hopes to pursue in the future.
I believe the traditional view of a surveyor was a man who stood on the side of a road with a theodolite, either picking up bits of survey detail or being in survey pegs. But more often these days surveyors are becoming involved in the Resource Management Act, in the construction industry, in the civil engineering industry, hydrographic surveying, which is measurement of the sea floor. Also the creation of titles, unit titles, legal ownership of land. So the surveyors can be involved in that part of the land development profession as well.
So what exactly are we doing out here then?
Well, what we're doing here today, Vicky, is a rural subdivision of a farm property.
So what equipment do you use?
Well, what we use here is, in this instance, a GPS survey, which basically uses a GPS signal from satellites that are up in the sky. There's probably a dozen satellites up there that we utilise to fix location.
This GPS base station communicates with both the satellites and the roving unit that gathers information on the fly to produce a 3D representation that is accurate to within 2 centimetres.
In this instance, we're looking at a subdivision of this property where the farmer's got some certain physical elements that are going to define the new boundaries, be it a fence line or a track. So we need to locate those with the GPS, again bring it back into the office and create a plan that he'll make, how he'd like his subdivision to proceed.
Engineering surveying involves the setting out and location of new structures. It includes large projects such as the new motorway extension north of Auckland.
Well, Vicky, this is Bruce Robinson. Bruce is here to illustrate his device, the laser scanner. It's a device that enables us to measure distances that we can't reach normally.
Bruce is going to use the laser scanner on the new motorway tunnel to check that what was built accurately reflects what was designed, right down to the smallest detail.
So what kind of information do you gather here?
Well, what we're doing here, Vicky, is the scanner is being used to as-built the features that have been constructed in the roof of the ceiling of the tunnel. The purpose of that is that we're looking at a 3D electronic image, but in this instance we're checking actual as-built versus design. So the as-built function of the scanner lets us again take a 3D picture of what's been built into the ceiling. We can bring that back into the office, check against design, check that everything's built as per specification, and so it's used for that purpose. So it's an ideal tool for, again, picking up all this information in one sweep.
So why go into surveying?
my case, I had a lot of family history in surveying, so it was possibly in my genes.
I like the lifestyle, the indoor-outdoor flow, the working with technology type stuff. That was really what really appealed to me.
And the different parts of the country you can visit. It's sort of never the same thing for more than a month or two at a time.
Just being able to go out and use your brain, but also be outside working.
It has a bit of artisticness to it, drawing up plans, and I quite like that kind of thing.
Another key role of the surveyor is to work closely with local authorities to gain resource consent for the planning and preparation of future urban communities.
Okay, so what we're looking at here is the development of Precinct 4, which is this parcel in here. We're looking to pull out these first 200 lots this summer. So what we're looking for is council approval for the stormwater, sewer, roading, infrastructure, and also the subdivision design for that concept.
A specialist discipline within surveying is Geographic Information Systems, or GIS. It is concerned with extremely accurate and complex computer mapping and illustration of data, much of which is gathered by a plane equipped with a laser scanner. Using this technology, Auckland City Council can then overlay a huge amount of data about its environments and assets. At the click of a mouse, GIS can show such things as contours, drainage, trees and their maintenance, and infrastructural assets, right down to where each and every park bench and rubbish bin is located. Surveyors play a key role as project managers in urban development, from raw land to finished subdivision.
Oh, the real rewards are actually creating something. Basically, you've got a blank canvas, a raw piece of ground. You're putting roads in, you're putting sewer, stormwater, water supply, and ultimately for places for people to live, which is very rewarding.
Perhaps the most visible role of the surveyor is cadastral surveying. That's the process of determining and defining land boundaries.
So those wooden pegs, they define the corners of a property. Okay, so the guys will have a peg here, the back corner and the four corners generally will be pegged, which is required by the Crown to define properties and defining where people actually live.
Within any development, the skills and equipment of the surveyor are put to many uses. For example, calculating the volume of water that a stormwater pond can contain should a flood occur.
Well, what we're doing here, Vicky, is we're going to use the GPS to carry out a topographical survey of the stormwater pond. And what we do, we're using the GPS receiver. When we get to a point, we push F1 to record the point that records the X, Y and Z, which is the 3 dimensions, and that all goes into our computer system back in the office, and we can calculate volumes. Right, Vicky, if we just come over here, we've pulled the disc out of the GPS receiver. So that's got all the data that we took this morning. We'll just put that in there, and then we can download that data. All right, Vicky, so what we've got here is the download of the pond that we surveyed earlier. What we can do in 12D is go to a 3D image. We can rotate the 3D image left and right and up and down, so we can get different perspectives of the shape of the pond as it's being built.
Mike Bates has recently qualified and is about to become a registered professional surveyor.
Mike, what do you enjoy most about surveying?
I prefer the inside-outside mix. There's a lot of variety in surveying, so one day I'm in the office, the next day I'm outside, and every day you're outside you get something different. You never know what to expect, really.
Hydrographic surveying is another specialist discipline. It involves the surveying and imaging of our oceans, coastlines and waterways.
This job today we're doing is to measure the dredge berths around the port. Every couple of years there's a maintenance dredge program, so we go around and check them and make sure they're to depth.
The information gathered allows David to create a 3D image of the seabed. This will determine whether dredging is required to maintain the correct water depth for large ships beside the wharves or out in the main channel. Surveyors are also concerned with the big picture. Geodesy is the measurement of the Earth, the movements of its crust, the tides and polar motion. There are many ways to enter this exciting career. You can join a surveying firm from school, then upskill by enrolling in a certificate, diploma or degree course. These courses are provided by Unitec and Otago University. After graduation, it takes another 2 to 3 years to become a fully registered professional surveyor. New Zealand's qualifications are highly regarded internationally, so this is a career that can literally take you anywhere in the world.
Oh, since I've graduated, I've worked in the UK and I've also worked in South Africa and including down in the mines in South Africa.
I've worked on oil exploration projects in Egypt and the Middle East and the United Arab Emirates.
A lot of work in Scandinavia, Holland, Norway particularly.
The rest of the year in St Lucia in the West Indies. I moved from there to West Africa for a year, mapping unmapped areas of the interior of the Liberian bush.
America, I worked in about 5 different states over there doing cadastral and engineering construction surveying.
Yeah, anywhere where people are building.
I learned lots of stuff. You can go over the world travelling to do surveying. There's lots of job opportunities out there, not just for men but for girls too.
So, where will you be working tomorrow?